Hey everybody, I'm Ryan, this is Roll for Initiative, and I want to say how much I appreciate it that all of you keep coming back. And that's kind of what I'm going to talk about today. Other things that just keep coming back over and over and over again on this episode where I look at some of my favorite undead creatures, the skeletons, zombies, and revenants, on this episode of Monster Mash. Now, in a previous episode, I've already talked about some undead creatures. We looked at ghosts and shadows, and we've definitely talked about vampires. But now I kind of want to look at 3 other undead creatures that I really like. And let's start off with zombies. Zombies are great. They're a staple of any of your horror campaigns or scary stories and things that go bump and then shuffle around in the night. Most of the zombies that you're going to encounter in your Dungeons & Dragons, Pathfinder, your fantasy and sword and sorcery type games, they're going to be your Romero, shuffly, not too smart types of zombies. Now, these zombies, just like all of the undeads that I'm going to talk about today, are kind of cool because of their fortitude. They don't need air, they don't need to eat or to drink, and they don't need to sleep at all. Now, zombies are pretty mindless creatures, or at least the way that they're written in a lot of the different monster manuals. They're going to take the direct path to go after your players and characters, all right? The monster manual says, they might get swept away in a fast-moving river because they go that direct route. Their planning and pack tactics, that's not going to apply. That's not the way that they overwhelm. What they try to do is, with the sheer numbers, whittle away at the defenses of the town or the village or whatever it is that's going on. Now, it also might just be that nobody really is thinking about the undead. It may be that it's a creature that people think of as myths in the setting that you're using or your homebrew campaign. And zombies are kind of easy to homebrew a little bit. I know I do that every once in a while. I've used zombies and I've given them basically a 5-foot teleport. Now, I never have them use that out in the open. I use it as a way to kind of get the jump scare on some of my creatures. Or maybe you give them a really high sneak or stealth attribute so that it's a little harder for your party to spot them the first time. And then that can give you sort of that horror movie feel of all of these monsters sneaking around someplace. The players are hearing things and they know something's out there somewhere, but they're not sure what it is until, rah, the zombies jump out and finally things are on. That's a little bit of home brewing, but I say if it works with the feel that you're going for, then absolutely go for it. Zombies can be pretty tough, especially in 5th edition. They have Undead Fortitude, which is really cool. Anytime they're reduced to 0 hit points, they get to make a Constitution saving throw, which is basically the damage that they took that time to take them to 0 plus 5. And if they make that save, then they're only reduced to 1 hit point. It doesn't take much for the dice to get kind of lucky, and then you've got zombies that just won't go down, and that's pretty cool. If you're going to be using zombies to go after your characters with, then I definitely suggest using them in hordes, using them en masse. That's going to be the way that you can sort of overcome the fact that your players are probably a little bit stronger than the zombies are, and that your players are able to plan and mount in defense and have a tactical advantage. Throwing the higher numbers of zombies is definitely a way to overwhelm them. And if the numbers are high enough, then it's a pretty good plot device to force the party to retreat and regroup and set up defenses, trying to wait out the horde. Of course, turn undead is going to be a big problem for them, so if you've got some clerics in the group, then it's something to plan for as you're putting together your zombie horde. Another pretty iconic creature that is quite a bit smarter than your zombies are your animated skeletons. There's a couple of different really cool types of skeletons that are in the book. There's your regular sort of soldier skeletons, the sorts of little guys shambling around looking like stop motion animation. The book also has a really neat skeleton minotaur that's pretty cool, and Kobold Press has some nifty skeletons that are in there. One of them is a shark jaw, shark maw skeleton. It's a skeleton made completely out of shark jaws and shark mouths and teeth. It's a pretty terrifying sort of thing to wander across. Your skeletons are a lot more intelligent than the zombies are. Now, they're not super creative or anything like that, but they know how to use weapons, they know how to wear armor, they can load trebuchets, they can plan things out a little bit. They're not going to break their bones and get swept away in a river when they can figure out how to use a battering ram to knock down a heavy door, or march a little farther down to where there is a bridge in order to pursue your players. A lot of the times, skeletons are also the servants of a larger master. The book does talk a little bit about masterless skeletons, and they can very easily just be a creature that's sticking around. They were wronged or killed in an awful way, and so they're just sort of creatures of habit and staying where they are. But these reanimated skeletons, you know, there is some dark magic that's going on, and usually they are a few of them sticking around, or maybe a small cadre of skeletons, and they're being manipulated by a greater force, a greater evil. Maybe it's your big bad. The fact that your skeletons are able to coordinate and that they have a little bit more of a tactical advantage, that they are somewhat intelligent, plus the fact that, you know, you can give them armor, raise their armor class, give them different types of weapons. You can have mounted skeletons and cavalry, or frontline fighters, pikemen, artillery, bowmen, crossbowmen. All of a sudden you've got a skeletal army, and that can be pretty devastating. And why not combine them, I say? Have some cannon fodder frontline zombies with the real soldiers, a skeletal regiment that comes in afterwards in order to lay siege on the town that your party's inside of. And lastly, I'll talk about the Revenant. The Revenant is one of my favorite monsters, hands down, and absolutely one of my favorite undead. What I think is so cool about the Revenant is how much that they are purpose-driven. They have a goal, and they've got some really cool abilities and skills that are going to help them accomplish that goal. First of all, they rejuvenate health. At the beginning of every turn, they gain back 10 hit points. So that's going to keep them up and running for a good amount of time. And if they do happen to get taken out, if they do die, within 24 hours, the Revenant's soul finds a new corpse to occupy in order to continue trying to find the person that killed them or wronged them in life. Because that's the really cool thing about Revenants. That's sort of their whole thing. They mete out justice from beyond the grave. And if you've got a party, a group of players that are getting a little murder hobo-y, then a Revenant is a really nice way to try to deal with that. See, the Revenant has the ability to always know where its quarry is. The person that wronged them in life, or murdered them, or caused their death through negligence, they come back to hunt that person down. And they're always able to know where they are, what direction to go, and how far away from them they are. Plus, Revenants retain the abilities, or at least a good portion of them that they had in life. So if you had a magic user, that Revenant probably has a lot of the same spells. If they were a skilled barbarian or swordsman or ranger, they also will have those skills from beyond the grave now that they are back. And having a character show up that maybe your party wronged a few sessions ago, or outright killed because they weren't really taking the time to talk to everybody and making sure they knew the whole story. Well, all of a sudden this Revenant is probably a lot stronger, and has a good reason to hold a grudge. I think Revenants, not only can they be pretty scary, but they're a really cool plot device, an NPC to use to deal directly with your party. And even if the party aren't a bunch of murder hobos, it's still a really cool thing to throw their way as far as bringing something back from a previous session that you had. Oh, and with the Revenants, even if you have that cleric in the party, they're not going to maybe do as much good, because Revenants have turn immunity. So turn undead, it's just not going to work. What are some of your favorite undeads? We've talked about quite a few of them here on Monster Mash, and I'd love to hear what you think. Is there a specific way that you like to use skeletons? Or is there a style of zombie that you prefer? Have you found a way of homebrewing it for a 28-day later style rage zombie? Or do you like the Romero style? Let me know what you think and leave me some comments below. I like reading those and getting a chance to respond. Thanks to everybody that continues to come back and watch our shows. You can catch us, of course, every Tuesday and Thursday. That's when we have new episodes out. If you want to get those episodes a day early, as well as be able to see a few other extra things and participate in some polls and surveys and stuff, then head over to patreon.com/roll4initiative. For just $1 a month, you get access to some really cool stuff and help us make all of these different videos. It'd be really cool of you. And with our Patreon patrons, I want to make sure to give a special thanks to Joan, Arvie, Lainey, and Sean. If this is your first video of ours that you're watching, then that's awesome. Thank you very much. Don't forget to like and to share and subscribe. Again, leave us some comments. That would be really cool of you. Go over to Twitter and follow us there, as well as Instagram. And I'll see you next time on Roll for Initiative.